Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about this game right here, Killer is Dead, which is a 2013 release. This is essentially a hack and slash game developed by Grasshopper Manufacture and published by Xseed in North America. And this is the typical hack and slash game, the typical kind of product from Grasshopper Manufacture. And I think this game has been in the eye of controversy since its release, mainly because two reasons, and I'll go over those first before I delve into my thoughts on the game. And the first problem is that Killer is Dead, just like any other Grasshopper Manufacture game, has a lot of technical issues. The game has awful screen tearing throughout the game, and some pretty poor camera controls or camera situations in which the battle becomes really confusing. So a lot of the reviewers, a lot of the major publications out there that reviewed the game knocked a lot of points off because of that, and a lot of fans get upset. But in that sense, I don't have an issue with the reviewers. I think it's fair actually that if the game has technical issues, that they knock some points off. So I'm totally fine with that. After all, I'm a pretty big fan of Grasshopper Manufacturer. I'm a pretty big fan of Suda51 because all his games are crazy, over the top, pretty nonsensical, and they all have technical glitches. And I'd say up until this point, it's almost like a design standard by Grasshopper Manufacturer. So I knew exactly what I was getting into. I knew beforehand that the game was not gonna be perfect, and so did some reviewers, and they knocked some points off, and I'm totally fine with that. After all, their job is to raise awareness between consumers, about the certain issues with the game. However, the reason why this game got really poor review scores is because of the controversial gigolo missions, in which sexual themes are the priority, if you will. And essentially in those missions, you go to a bar, you go on a date with a girl, and basically you raise points by looking at her parts. And the goal of the game is to basically win the girl, take her home, and have some action, and that way you get new weapons and you can upgrade weapons and whatnot. So this is a part where the controversy got out of hand because reviewers just knocked the game down to the ground because of the gigolo missions, and I think it's pretty stupid. I mean, the game is not too far from reality. I mean, while it's true that the game presents women in a very, I guess, demeaning way, because they're very sexualized in the game. You basically use them to upgrade your weapons and whatnot. The game is not very far from reality. I mean, if you go to a bar and you see two adults, a man and a woman talking, they're not there to exchange thoughts on the weather during the day or anything like that. Most of the time, adult people go to the bar with one thing in mind, and this game just portrays that. Granted, the missions are a little bit silly, they're boring and a little bit repetitive, but I think it's unfair that reviewers knocked this game into the ground because of the gigolo missions. And I think it's pretty funny that the same reviewers that criticized this game and joined the feminist defense force are the same reviewers that gave Grand Theft Auto 5 a perfect 10s. And GTA 5 is a game where you can hire prostitutes, use their service, and then kill them right after that, or run them over with a car. So all of a sudden it's okay to to kill people, or innocent people, or women in a game like Grand Theft Auto, but it's, for some reason, it's wrong in this game right here. I think that's a pretty nice indicator on who has the bigger checkbook when it comes to publishers. And Rockstar apparently they get the job done in that regard. And don't get me wrong, I love the GTA series, but I think it's a little bit ridiculous that every time a new GTA game comes out, they get perfect 10s. I think it's pretty underserved. I love the games. I think they're fun, but they're nowhere near a perfect 10. And I think it's funny. Like I said, I think there's a lot of irony in professional reviewers, being like really feminist and defending or criticizing the gigolo missions, whereas games like GTA 5, some of those issues go overlooked for some reason. Very odd, but as we all know, money talks, and it's unfortunate. But what about the game itself? Let's step away from the controversy a little bit. Let's talk about the game itself. And I do have to say that I'm a little bit disappointed in the game. This is a very standard hack and slash game. Not a whole lot of action. Not a very whole lot of there's plenty of action, but there's not a lot of variation between the levels. For example, in No More Heroes 1, which is also another hack and slash game, but by Grasshopper Manufacture, in between missions you could change the pace a little bit, go and play challenges, or you could explore the overworld, which granted it was a little bit bare bones, but there were some collectibles for you to upgrade, or you could go to like the dojo and train to become stronger and whatnot. So there was a little bit of a break between the non-stop hack and slash action. In No More Heroes 2, the same thing. You could work, or you actually needed to work to raise money to face the next killers, and you had to play these retro mini games in between the hack and slash missions. So again, there's variation and a nice break in between all of the action. Killer is Dead is not so much like that. This is a non-stop hack and slash action from A to Z, and it gets a little bit repetitive. And even though the game is short, it's unfortunate because the only thing that pretty much changes are the backgrounds and the scenery, which I do have to say they look pretty good, and they're crazy, just like Suda 51 is, and that's one of the characteristics of this game. Being a Grasshopper Manufacturer, expect to see a lot of crazy characters, nonsensical storyline, and some pretty cool boss battles. I do have to say that's perhaps my favorite, or my favorite highlight of the game, the boss battles. And that was the case with Killer 7, that was the case with No More Heroes 1 and 2. Those games are just full of great boss battles, and Killer is Dead is not an exception. It's actually a game filled with a lot of creativity when it comes to boss battles. But like I said, the storyline, it's nothing great. It's nonsensical. It's confusing. Even after you beat the game, you're going to be scratching your head. But I'm used to that. Basically, you play as Mondo Zappa, which is you join the Executioner's Office, which is a office that works on, I believe, tax money from the government or something like that. And basically, they get contracts to go and kill other assassins out there. So your job is to talk to a client, sign a contract, and then you have to go and kill whoever the client is requesting to be killed. So that's the beginning of the storyline, and as you progress through the game, things get a little bit crazy and weird, and by the time you beat the game, I think you're gonna be even more confused that when you started the game. So again, it's a staple of Grasshopper Manufacture, a staple of Suda 51, for the games to be crazy like this. The visuals in this game are as expected. They have that cel-shaded style that also characterized games like No More Heroes, Lollipop Chainsaw, and Killer 7 for the GameCube. And I do have to say that I was very impressed with when the game was shown in the trailers, because this game has a very unique type of filter that makes the game look very unique. But once I started playing the game, myself, I found this special effect that they added a little bit bothersome. Essentially, all the dark colors on the screen have this like blue tone that essentially, if there's a black on screen, it's not black. It has this weird contrast. And the best way that I can explain this is if you are looking at LCD TV from a bad viewing angle, you're gonna see that the dark colors are not dark. And so the game has this effect going on that it was really bothersome to me when I was playing the game, because I was turning my head, I was twisting my head, thinking that I was at a bad viewing angle, but that was not the case. So the cell shading, again, a really good job on the cell shading, but not so much on that, visual effect, on that filter that they used. The game is pretty short. You can beat this in 6 or 7 hours depending on your skill level. There are unlockables. There's a light RPG element, if you will. You can upgrade your weapons. You can upgrade your fighting skills. And Mondo, basically, for combat, he uses his katana, and he uses also his muscle back, which is this biomechanical arm that you need blood from the enemies in order to recharge your muscle back arm, and you can use it to shoot bullets or use it as a weapon, pretty much. And even though you have this variation between using a katana and using your mechanical arm, there isn't really a whole lot of depth in the combat system. There are other weapons in the game, but they're not essential in beating the game. In fact, I pretty much used only those two weapons, the katana and the muscle back. So, like I said, the combat gets pretty repetitive, and to be honest, I was not a very big fan of Mondo Zappa. I don't know, there's something about his character that I didn't really enjoy. But as far as the other characters in the game, I thought they were pretty funny. They were pretty in line with what I expected from a Suda51 game, from a Grasshopper Manufacture game. So I enjoyed the characters, with the exception of the main character, which is the one that you control, which is another negative point in my opinion. But that's something personal, I guess. I just disliked Mondo. His personality just didn't really suit the game, in my opinion, because he's very serious. He's almost like like a big player. He's very calm and cool. Me personally, I enjoyed the goofiness of Travis Touchdown from No More Heroes. I think he fitted better into that Grasshopper Manufacture universe, if you will. Not so much with Mondo Zappa. The soundtrack is pretty cool. There's a lot of Western type of songs, songs that you'd expect in a Western release. That's what I meant. And but nothing too memorable. I was able or lucky enough to get the limited edition for very cheap, so I have the soundtrack, which I haven't really listened to yet, but I will be doing that for sure. So yeah, Killer is Dead. It's a above average game for me. Like I said, I was a little bit disappointed. Me personally, I loved No More Heroes 1 and 2 for the Wii. Those are my two top Grasshopper Manufacture games. So I had my expectations set high for this game, because since this is a new release, I thought that they were gonna take all the elements that made the No More Heroes games fun and improve upon them to make an even better game. But that's not the case. This game is short, it's repetitive. But for what it's worth, I'm glad I played the game, because it has, like I said, it has a Japanese crazy storyline, nonsensical quirkiness that only Grasshopper Manufacturer can provide, that only Suda51 can provide. So in that sense, in that regard, I'm actually happy that I was able to play this game and beat the game. And by the way, the game does have somewhat of a replay value, because you get side stories or sub missions, which I completed all of them. Then you got the Gigolo missions, which I completed most of them, and you play those to unlock more weapons and upgrade your weapons. And you also have the challenges that are unlocked by finding this girl called Scarlet throughout the levels. I was able to find her in every level. She's not very hard to find. You just have to break some boxes or look into odd places, and once you rescue her, you can play the challenge missions, which are pretty damn hard. I gave up after beating the first 6 or 8 challenge missions. I think I had enough of Killer is Dead, and again, the side stories, the sub missions are a little bit of more of the same. Typical hack and slash, typical same gameplay. So expect to see a lot of of the same things that you did on the single player main mission in the bonus levels. So Killer is Dead, an above average game. I'm a little bit disappointed. I was hoping to see this game a little bit better, but it fell a little bit short of my expectations. And regarding the controversy, I think it's completely BS. I think, like I said, this game is not very good, but not because of the gigolo missions, not because of the sexual themes. There are other issues with the repetitive gameplay that, in my opinion, should have been the the focus of the criticism and not the gigolo missions. But Killer is Dead, for what it's worth, if you can find this for cheap, I recommend it because it has a very unique style, a very unique gameplay that only Suda51 and Grasshopper Manufacture can provide. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.